And I'm Kristen.
And this is Looking for the Middle. Why do you laugh every time I say that?
I don't know.
Forget it. We're just going to jump in. We're glad you're here.
And it's the Christian Girl's Guide to Modern Dating.
Oh, you said it.
I said it without laughing.
So tell everybody what CouchCast is.
So CouchCast, if you don't already know, is our mini episode venture where we pick random questions or topics out of a bowl and talk about them. Totally unfiltered, unscripted, unprepared, which is very fun for us and proving to be very funny for y'all.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoy it.
Okay, I'm going to pick one.
Yes, you are going to pick one. There's only 2 left.
Okay. Oh, I ripped it. Hold on. I ripped the paper. Oh, this is a good one. Ready?
Ready.
How important is parental or friend approval of the guy you're dating?
I can
Take it
go
away,
on
Kristen.
about this. Okay, parental and friend approval. I have a 2-sided answer that'll probably cause more confusion than good, but I'm going to say it anyways. On one hand, keep in mind, I'm very close with my family. Yeah. Very close with my parents. Really want my parents' approval when it comes to dating a guy because I've been on the other side where they did not approve and it was not fun.
Not go well for you.
No, not at all. Needless to say, I'm not with those guys anymore, obviously. But that is a very high priority to me. I think it's totally fine to value your parents' opinion.
You should, I think.
Yes, and want their perspective. And your parents can have a really great window into your relationship that's removed because you can tend to see what you want to see about a guy.
Sure, and like it or not, your parents know you better than most people will.
Yes, exactly. So I think that they're a great resource for you as you're dating.
Oh, yeah.
However, one thing that I can tend to just go too far is to where like, oh, they have to like everything about him or oh my gosh. And you know, they can't see any flaw in him or he's out the window, you know, like, and I think there's this sense that you have to have that you're your own person, you're an adult, you're independent.
Especially if you're dating later. If you're still in high school, obviously you're not going anywhere without your parents' approval. If you're in college even, I think there's a certain amount of...
Especially if your parents are paying for your tuition.
Yep, it weighs a little bit more. But once you're out of college, living on your own, working... I mean, I've been out of college 10 years.
Yeah.
So, dating as a 32-year-old is very different than dating as an 18-year-old when it comes to parental approval.
Definitely. Yes, I agree with that. And so I think there's this balance you have to find that while it's great to value their opinion and to ask for their, you know, guidance, wisdom, advice, if they see any red flags. I've up and asked my parents that about guys I've dated, like, hey... This was after high school, obviously, when I had enough, you know, maturity to ask that question. Because I was not about to ask that question when I was in high school. But I was like, do you see any red flags? Should I be concerned about anything? Is there something I'm missing about this guy? And I trust them to do that. But I also know at the end of the day that I'm really praying and seeking God's will for the relationship that I'm in. And if I feel peace about it, then I'm going to move forward.
Well, and I think... most people, all people who ask this question are not asking because their parents love their boyfriend and approve of him. Yes.
That's a good point.
People ask this question when their parents or friends don't approve.
Yeah.
So my question to you would be, what is it that they don't approve of? If it's his spiritual state, because he's not adhering to Scripture, he's not pursuing the Lord.
That's
why do
very
you approve?
valid.
Why do you approve of him, if that's the case? Or if he has big chunks of his life that are very not in line with Scripture, and he's not working to align, like there's not that growth and moving towards that, I would say that is something that if that's your parents' reasoning, and you're still resisting, you need to get your heart right in that as well. But if it's purely preferential, something that they don't approve of, or they're not a big fan of, then I think there's discretion there. Like you said,
you can still weigh it.
Yes, it doesn't mean it doesn't matter, but if it's just preferential, then it wouldn't necessarily be a sin issue to pursue that. It might not be the wisest.
Yeah.
Like I said, they know you. And then if you're a Christian and your parents aren't, then there's a whole other set of, like, they may not approve of this guy, and he's a good, godly, sound Christian guy, but they have a totally different mind frame than you do. They have a totally different approach to it. So that's tough. That would be a really tough position to be in.
I think one of the best questions you can ask yourself if you're in a place where you're dating somebody and your parents, have brought some concerns to you, or your really close friends are, a little concerned. These are the people that love you and that want what's best for you. And if I had to bet, I could almost promise you that it took a lot for them to get up the courage to say something to you. Because if you're super excited, you're super in love, and you just think this guy hung the moon, they're like, crap. I don't want to say this to them. You don't want to burst your bubble. But they also don't want to see you get hurt either. Right. And if there's a huge red flag, they love you enough to tell you that, and I think it's worth that you hear them out, or worth something that you hear them out.
Totally.
Because they've known you longer than this guy has, most likely.
Well, yeah, and they bring up something that is like a red flag, like you said. It doesn't mean you have to break up with him tomorrow.
No.
But don't just brush what they said under the rug either. Keep that in your mind and evaluate who you're dating based off of that too, because in, 2 or 3 months you may go, oh wow, there really is a pattern of he has a really bad temper, and I didn't see it until now. But if they hadn't said anything, you might not realize, and then you move it, could go bad from there.
Yeah. And I mean, I think this is a really good time too where you can really be intentional about praying about it and be like, all right, God, this has been brought to my attention by whoever. I don't see it, but if it's there, and give me the clarity and the wisdom to be able to see it. Yeah. And if it's not, then give me the peace to know that I can move forward, and then the ability to have a conversation with whoever brought this up to me, But I've asked that for me, and I've asked that for my friends who may be dating somebody where I see some red flags. Like, God, give them, open their eyes to see what they need to see.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great prayer to pray for yourself too. Like, God, I want to see this guy for who he really is, and I don't want to just be blinded because he's gorgeous and perfect in my eyes, because newsflash, he's not perfect, but even though we think he is.
Yes.
But I think that you just have to, at the end of the day, remember the people who are closest to you have your best interest at heart. Now, if it's, and that's another thing I would caution you to, if it's your friends that maybe you're not super close to, but they're just kind of like,
they want to put their 2 cents in.
Yes, yeah. Or if it's coming from a place of jealousy or envy, you really have to weigh that. And it doesn't mean like you don't need to be friends with them anymore, but you can kind of filter that and be like, you know what? I think this is coming from a deeper issue, and you can still, look out for it, whatever but it doesn't mean that everything everybody says about this guy I'm dating is true.
Right. You just, especially like that, and especially if, like you were saying, it's coming from this place of jealousy or something else, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, and then maybe not have those conversations with that person. Mm-hmm. Or take what they have said and go to your parents if you're close to them, or you're really close friends, and say, hey, this was brought up. Do you see this? Or can you look out for this? I think seeking accountability in that, and even the openness to want their opinion, is really, that's a wise thing on your part.
Oh, for sure.
Not trying to keep it in this bubble and then hope your parents approve, but bring in those people who are close to you from the start, seeking out their wisdom and observation. Because if you are arrogant enough to think that you can just do that on your own, you know what they say happens. Pride comes before a fall.
Yeah.
And that will probably come back to bite you.
Yeah. And I would also recommend, speaking from personal experience, if you're going to ask somebody for their honest opinions about the person you're dating, be ready for good and bad opinions. True. Because I was dating a guy one time and went to my parents like, hey, what are your thoughts? Good and bad. Yeah. And I was expecting to hear all good. They had several good things to say, but they were also like, hey, we've kind of seen this and this and this. Maybe you should watch out for it. And I'm like crying. I'm like, I thought you loved him. And this is horrible. But I'm like, but my dad was like, you asked our opinion, good and bad. I'm telling you things that I'm seeing.
What did you mean?
Yes. And so I think that's one thing that, and if I had kind of gone into it prepared mentally, I think I would have been okay. But I was just thinking, oh, I'm going to say this, but I really just want them to say all the good things. I really want to be able to
check that box that they like him and everything's fine.
Yeah, but I think if you can really just go into it very open-handed.
Yeah.
And willing to listen.
Yeah.
And to do some kind of digging once you hear these things, especially from the people you really trust. That is only going to help you.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to hurt you in any way.
No, and I will say this. One kind of last thing, though. If you're dating a guy, you're a Christian, he's a Christian, and both of your parents are Christians. If you're pursuing a more serious relationship and going forward with this, you should get to a point where they are on board.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, it's such a tough thing.
That's a hard thing to
but
navigate.
You're all Christians. You're all pursuing, and they just aren't. I think you owe them the respect of giving them time to get to that point. Unless they're just saying, "Oh, I don't like the way he cuts his hair," then that's different. But if they have, real valid, serious concerns, even if you don't necessarily see it, I think giving them the respect of giving it more time is warranted.
Yeah, and I think, my dad always tells me, because y'all know I have my list of all, the preferences are longer than the non-negotiables, but I still have a list. And I was talking about it. I will never forget this one day. I think I was still in high school, maybe college. And my dad looked at me and he was like, Kristen, as long as he loves the Lord and he treats you well, that's really all you need to worry about. And he's like, and that's what I'm looking for. Can he take care of my girl? And does he love the Lord? And is he pursuing a relationship with him? That's what I'm worried about. Yeah. Everything else,
it will work itself out.
It'll work itself out.
He's not going to be perfect.
No. Yeah. And he's not, Prince Charming, unfortunately. As much as I would like him to be. But I think those are the things that you have to really, ask your parents, like, if they're, what are you looking for?
Right.
What was your expectation? Like, and is this something that's going to, cause me to have a bad marriage or cause me to, stumble or cause me to not, to stop growing in my faith? If that's the case, then fine. But if it's just, like you said, a preferential thing, then that's where I think you can kind of have discernment on your own. Yes. And realize that, like, hey, at the end of the day, this is your life. Yeah. This is, you're consulting God on this. Yes. You're praying about it. This is your marriage and your future that's on the line. You're the one that's going to live with him the rest of your life.
If your parents are mature Christians, I think they will see the difference in those things, whether it's a scriptural requirement or a preference that they had. Maybe they always saw you with a guy who was like this. And this guy you're dating is not. They'll realize that was a preference. Yeah, definitely. It may take them a little time, but you can just keep reminding, hey, this isn't a scriptural issue. This is just preference, and you can work that out, I think.
Definitely. So, I hope that helps.
Yeah. That was a good one.
That was a really good one. Whoever sent that one in or told us about it, thank you.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a really good one.
But I think that's all we've got today.
Yeah, that's all we've got. We've got another CouchCast episode coming next week.
Sometime.
And we are not far from the beginning of season 2.
I'm so excited.
February 13th, day before Valentine's Day. We are kicking things off, and we can't wait.
Hopefully you can't either. Until then, I'm Bethany.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is Looking for the Middle.